Welcome to Podcast, the Business of Dentistry Podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Podcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to our latest podcast. My name is Les Jones. I'm a creative director with Practice Plan, and I'm very pleased to say that today I'm here with Manish Chitnis, who is a practice owner down in Hampshire and Dorset, and is here today to share his experience of taking one of his practice from the NHS to private practice. So Manish, just to kind of start us off, just give us a little insight into your practices, because you have more than one practice and they're a bit of a mix. What's the kind of the setup, or was the setup before you started moving across from the NHS?
So me and my wife Shilpa, we own 5 practices, out of which 3 are private, and 2 were mixed. We started 2010, and over the last 15 years, obviously, as organic growth, we built these practices. Acquisition number 1 and acquisition number 2 were typically the mixed practices.
Right.
All the other 3 were either more squats as private.
So we're here for this session to talk about specifically the transition of one of those NHS, predominantly NHS or mixed practices, to fully private. Yeah. So wind the clock back a little bit. What were your main drivers for making that move? What were the kind of the critical factors?
If I go back when we did the acquisition, I usually call the term security was the NHS, and that was the decision when we bought the practices. But as time has moved on, it's been 14 years. Probably the biggest point to make the decision was commercial unsustainability.
Right.
In a sense, we were running the NHS, we were trying to do exactly the similar kind of practice, giving the right quality to people or patients of ours, but we were compensating our private income to offset the losses of NHS. And
Right.
we kept doing it continuously just so that we wanted to be good in the eyes of the community.
Right.
But it was coming to a break point where commercials wouldn't work. We were going into losses, and we had to make a decision because it was running on a treadmill continuously, and the team was continuously working. People were getting burnt out, and we didn't have it was a vicious cycle. So we decided it's time to take that leap of faith. There were uncertainties, but we took the leap of faith for 2 reasons: team burnout and commercial unsustainability.
What kind of effect was that having on the team then? So it had been going on a long time.
Yeah.
Were the team with you in terms of making that decision? Were they kind of on board?
What happens in smaller towns where we are is the first resistance was in the small town where we are, and we being the only NHS practice, what will be the rebounds, or what would be the expression from the community to say when we move away? So the team was a bit nervous. I have to be honest, me and Shilpa as owners were nervous to say the 14 years worth of goodwill, being a nice practice, all that love and connection which we get from our community, will it disappear, was the question mark.
Yeah.
The resistance probably was in the mindset. The resistance was probably related to our human needs, which we call as love and connection with the community. And that was probably one. But however, the team knew that every time, right from the front of house to the comms team to the nurses, they were absolutely on a treadmill constantly. We couldn't say no to people, trying to book them in within 24 hours for emergencies. Diaries were chock-a-block. We were double booking, triple booking, trying to do what we can to keep people happy.
Yeah.
But it was unsustainable. It was dampening the quality of care, and the pressure was just mounting. So I think the team was ready. Yeah. But the fear of losing the community goodwill was the deterring factor.
And was that anxiety, if you like, translated into a kind of a concern that you wouldn't perhaps get enough patients to join as a private practice?
That was something with me as owner and Shilpa as owner and the associates, because the white space in the diary starts putting the pressure in. And I have to say, when we sent the first letter out, the practice plan support, everybody was anxious. The comms team, the front of house, everybody was sort of on the edge to say, will we get phone calls back? Are people going to say yes? Are people just going to bounce back, etc.? So that first 30 days was the nervous period. Will people sign up? And of course, rest is history. So we just concluded everything within the targets were reached within 4 weeks. We didn't have to convince anyone. 90% of our patients just said, yes, we are fine and we'll go with it. So that was brilliant for us.
And presumably before you sent that first letter out, you mentioned that you were working with Practice Plan to support you through that transition. Presumably there'd been a lot of work before that in terms of working out what income was required for the practice, what your plan price would be, and how did that go?
So I have to say, and I have to mention Amy and Kat at this stage. The kind of support we got was phenomenal. And I have to say, we are one of your practices who are a slow burner. We did partial movement over a few years with Shilpa moving out and one more associate moving out, but we never gave NHS completely. And that was a false sense of security. And when I sat down with Kat and Amy and I showed my numbers to them, for them, it wasn't a surprise. They came back with their spreadsheets. They came back with the staged support of what we need to do and how we are going to achieve this. And that gave me the confidence back to say, they've done this before. They've done it for many practices. And I'm just late on the bandwagon at this stage. That was the understanding, because they knew exactly what they were saying. So that support was phenomenal. And I got to know the numbers. And then I said, okay, we are just going to go ahead with that.
So was there a general understanding from your patient base then? Because obviously NHS dentistry is in the news a lot in terms of the lack of funding or the lack of a new contract coming forward. And what we've seen at Practice Plan is there's been a kind of a gradual shift over a number of years. So instead of the patient's reaction being, oh, the dentist is just being greedy and kind of looking after him or herself, there's now a recognition, or growing recognition, I think, of actually many of the dentists don't have a choice because it's not sustainable.
I have to say, it took us time to make this decision. And I think we took the decision in the most favorable times. That's the word I'm going to use. Anybody who's listening to this at this stage, it is very evident that the way NHS dentistry is staged, the commercials are being set up, it is very evident, and even the NHS knows that it is not sustainable in the current setup with operational cost and variable cost and everything. So when we made the decision and spoke about it to the audience, to our pleasant surprise, 95% people didn't even flinch an eyelid. They just said, yeah, we understand and we will go with it. There are 5% people who obviously did the shouting, went to the MP, and I was being coached and guided by my mentors to say, just take it, because that's the reaction you need to just respect and just keep quiet, basically. And then that 5% faded off.
And how was the process or the experience of actually handing your contract back?
So initially we thought there will be a bit of a negotiation from the NHS and they would say, why are you doing this, etc., etc. To our surprise, we sent that email and they said, yes, thank you. 31st will be the last date. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. And
no pushback.
No pushback. And we just said, are we okay to help the children? We are happy to do the children on the NHS. Would that help the community? And that was a straight no. They would say, no, either you do the full contract or nothing. So we were actually surprised, because we were actually offering the favor in a sense to say children dentistry, and we know it's sort of something which we could sustain and help the community. And then it just said no, which we were surprised.
Wow.
Yeah, which is good again, because we have lots of NHS children patients now signing up as members. So all good, no problems.
So you've now kind of come through the other side.
Yeah.
As you say, you kind of you reached your numbers after very short.
Within 6 weeks.
Within 6 weeks, which is incredible, really. What difference has it made? What difference has it made to you as practice owners, but to the dentist and to the wider team?
One big thing, and I call it time. We got our time back.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to put the messages back from the team, they are loving it.
Right.
Because they used to do, say, 20 patients a day or 22 patients a day. And now they are doing 8 or 9 patients a day. So I think the quality of care has been maintained. There is no clinical quality change if I really look at my team, because that was the right culture and everything as perfectly as we should do. But the time spent with the patients has changed. One-to-one referrals have changed. We have 2,500 testimonials now on Google.
Wow.
And when people go and read, I'm getting 5, 6, 7 testimonials every day. And it's all about the experience and how people feel about us. It's 20% clinical feedback, 80% of how they felt, how the experience is, and how we look after them. I think that's the biggest feedback which is coming to me. And it's spiked up now from patients as well as the team to say, you guys are brilliant and we love you. And that whole malarkey about moving up from the NHS, people who said, I'm only going to go to NHS dentist, are now calling us back to say, we just want to come back, which is great.
So the patients have noticed a kind of a massive shift then in terms
because the time spent with them right from that first phone call, treatment coordinators coming into the practice, digital consultations, 45 minutes for a checkup when they were doing a 15-minute checkup, having the chat with the dentist, and less the feeling of being rushed is gone for the dentist, the team, and the patient. That's the biggest achievement, I think.
What's your view, Manish, on the kind of future of the NHS? I mean, you've obviously experienced it right at the kind of the coal face there in terms of the sustainability. Do you think there's, in this kind of current form, there's any way back, any way that it could be pulled back?
If sort of I had the choice, every dentist in the country should work and do dentistry, which is right for their patient.
Yeah.
That's number one. And if NHS has to provide something for the community, I think it should be an emergency, need-based, when you need it, and you, of course, can't go private or you can't afford it or whatever it is. Just like they're providing the medical facility.
Yes.
If centers are out there in NHS to help people in pain and help emergency dentistry, that's probably what it should be, or it could be. I don't know.
A kind of a core service.
Core service,
yeah,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then anything which is, because dentistry is not about just firefighting, it's about a long-term approach. And if you want to do a long-term approach, it's commercially not doable within the pricing, the timing, the pressures on how many patients we want to cater to, the access to the patients, and that only independently you can do and make a decision for your patients. So NHS dentistry, if it stays as core and emergency service only, I think that should be probably the future.
Yeah. So now you're kind of looking back, you have one of your mixed practices that's kind of gone through the transition and the conversion to fully private. You have another one that is kind of in the wings, as it were.
Yeah.
Are there kind of any lessons you've learned from the first practice going through, things that you would do differently?
Yes. So one thing which we did with our first practice is we did partial conversion. Mm-hmm. And if I have to turn the clock back, I will not do partial conversion.
Right.
I'll do a planned full conversion. So our second practice will go for a planned full conversion. The only reason we have slightly delayed is there is something working around the recruitment and team profile and workflows. Yeah. So I'm setting those up first, changing the patient experience at this stage, and then we'll go for a full conversion 31st of March 2026. Yeah. And we'll make an announcement somewhere around October or November. Partial conversion is again a false sense of security to me, and it creates a mixed response within the community to say they are NHS or they are not NHS, and they get confused. So I don't want to create the confusion and the backlash. So we had a little bit of backlash because people were suggesting that, are you lying? Are you keeping NHS? Are you not keeping NHS? And we were doing partial conversion. So we were keeping NHS for some. But on 1st of October, after I spoke to Kat and I said, let's close it now because it's creating too much hassle. Yeah. So that was the lesson learned. Full conversion, yes.
So we should say that Amy and Kat, Amy is your regional support manager, and Kat is the area sales manager, and they've been helping you through the whole process. What's it been like working with Practice Plan going through the process?
Number one is we can feel and sense the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So people with Practice Plan are there 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, and I've been connected with Practice Plan for now 8 to 10 years. When we first started with Practice Plan, slow changes. So responses are prompt. Everybody knows their role and what they are doing. The depth and insights into all this process is very, very deep in a sense. They understand us as a customer because they understand our challenges, fears, anxieties, and they're backed up with all these spreadsheets and protocols, and it's all very, very meticulous in a sense of systems and processes. So never did we ever feel that the response time is low or I'm getting confused of what they are saying. None of these things happened. It was purely marked to say this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Deadlines were given, timings were given, and the support was phenomenal. So the whole team, right from our comms team, front of house, dentist, everybody knew exactly what was happening. And Amy and Kat's response time was phenomenal.
What's the support been like that you've had from Practice Plan?
I mentioned before as well, support has been phenomenal. And I think, I don't know about any other plan providers, to be honest. I've just been with Practice Plan. But what I really feel and can sense is the culture. Prompt responses. Amy and Kat exactly knew what they were doing. They could understand me as a customer and my anxieties, fears, the team understanding. So the support actually was 360 degree in a sense. Not just me and Shilpa were consulted and given the feedback, but they would come in to the practice, train the team. They would speak to my team members who were on phone and who were going to get the backlash. That was one big thing because they actually predicted to say, what are you going to hear from the community? What are the patients going to say? What are the answers to be given? How respectfully you need to come. So in effect, having the depth and the insight of doing so many conversions, I think Amy and Kat exactly knew what to expect. So when I was talking to them of the fears and stuff, they would come back with logistical data to give me to say, this is what we need to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think the coordination within Practice Plan as a culture is every department is very well trained. So when the ball moves from Amy to a Nathan to a Kat or whoever, everybody knows the sequence well. So we felt supported all the time, and we were given the KPIs to look after, to say this is what you're going to reach at this stage and this stage, and those predictions were coming correct as well. We did faster, but we were given some KPIs to manage. So I really, really appreciate. And Amy and Kat, if you're listening to this, thank you very much once again.
We'll make sure they hear. That's for sure. So Manish, if you were giving some advice to dentists who are still in the NHS, who have thought about making that move to private practice for all the reasons you mentioned earlier on, but have some kind of trepidation about making that move, what would be your advice?
I think the answer is very obvious. I'm just going to say to the dentists who are listening to this, who are in NHS, to say, do you feel fulfilled at the end of the day with what you're doing? Do you have time enough to make sure it's safe for you and your patients when you're practicing dentistry? Is your team happy and content? And if the answers are yes to all these 3 questions, please stay put into the NHS. But if the answers are no to these 3 questions about fulfillment, time, and happiness within your team, then it's definitely a time to move. And patients who love you, who actually want you more than the NHS, will absolutely keep up with you. So there is no doubt patients will go away because they're not there for the NHS. They are there for you, the service you provide and the care you take. So believe in yourself. It's about doing the right dentistry for the right people who will come to you. There won't be any change, 100% change.
I'm presuming on that answer, Manish, there's no regrets from your perspective.
Absolutely not. And the only regret is I'm paying a fatter check to my associates every month and now. So they are very, very happy and absolutely doubled their income. So which means income for us as well.
Well, there's nothing like a win-win.
Yes, absolutely.
Manish, thanks ever so much for your time today and sharing your experience. Thank you.
Thank you for the invite. Thanks.
Cheers.